Welcome, ladies. I am so excited today to be talking with the KJB Consulting team as part of our Smart Girl Collective video series. We're aiming to talk with leaders in the senior living space who have forged their own path throughout the industry. And I am so excited to talk with you ladies today because I know you have such a great story to tell and we have a lot to discuss. So let's dive right into it. If you don't mind, let's just go around quickly and introduce yourself. Tell me about your role at KJB, and then we'll get into it. So, Kelly, do you want to kick it off?
Sure, thanks, Sarah. Hi, I'm Kelly Singleton Myers. I am the Chief Vision Officer and one of the three founders. You're going to get to meet us all today, and I'm super excited, Sarah, to be here with you.
I am the B in KJB and I'm the Chief Growth Officer. So my role is to grow the business because honestly, business development is my favorite thing to do.
Awesome. And last but not
Yeah.
least, Jessica.
Hi, I'm Jessica Falk. I am the Chief Education and Curiosity Officer. So happy to be here today as well.
I love that title. That's great.
She does
Well,
have the best title. Like, let's be honest, it's
It's
the best
all
title.
you.
Yeah.
Kelly, I know you all have what combined experience of how many years in the industry?
Oh, goodness, it has to be plus
150.
60, plus
75
60,
probably.
plus 75, Jess. I hear you saying, yeah. We've been around for a little while.
Let me less than others, just for
That's
the
true.
record.
Yeah,
Okay.
that is true. She is the
Baby.
baby on the team.
Well, tell me what has kept you in the industry for so long to have such a long career. And I know many others who have been in the industry for that length of time, but what has kept you all in the industry for so long?
Almost been 25 years in healthcare, my entire professional career, but in senior living specifically, about 25 years. And, when I think about, and most of that with the same organization. And so I think that in itself is unique, right? To be able to stay with the same organization for such a long time and have that opportunity to always feel such a deep sense of purpose. And, in all of the roles that I've been lucky enough to play a part of in senior living, I would say that, the one commonality, right, is the profound impact that as a sales professional, you have on prospective residents and their family in this space. And, it's rare, I think, sometimes to find any profession where you get to help people make such a meaningful and important decision. But alongside that, especially when you're a community-based sales professional, right? You walk that journey with families. Every family has a very unique story. And once you get through that journey, if you're lucky enough that, your community is going to be able to provide the services that they need, there's so few sales professions that you get to do that. And the relationships that we build with families as we're going through that process, whether it takes a week or whether it takes 10 years, to have the honor of being a part of that through the process, but then getting to witness, how someone's life can change once they're moving into a senior living community and they're making new friends and learning new things. It's a blessed career for sure.
Yeah, I don't think that I don't think there's many or sales jobs out there where you get to reap the benefit of seeing progress, right, in what you do for a living. And I mean, a lot of them are transactional. And to Kel's point, I remember Bob and Sarah, both of them had moved into a community and they were not together, right? Two different families we worked with, and they had early memory loss happening. And this is when I was a sales director, and one had come out of the hospital, one had wandered off, and so it was a safety issue. And the families were quite distraught. And so being able to work through that with them, and then a few months later, seeing them walk past my office and they're like together, they're hanging out, they're friends, they're enjoying activities. It was just such an amazing feeling to be that sales director. And I think that's something that we should all remember as we do that job, right? It's just the impact you can have on people.
It's those stories and those interactions with the families and residents and prospects that really stick with you and kind of help you see the meaning behind your role and everyday tasks. So thank you for sharing that with me. I would love to hear a little bit more about who KJB is and
Okay.
what really led you guys from, after spending so many years on the operator side, what led to the start
Sure.
of KJB?
Yeah, so I think you got to see a glimpse when both Kelly and Bridget were speaking just about the passion that we have for not only helping a director of sales and an operator be successful, but the impact that we have ultimately on the customer in one of the most difficult decisions they'll ever have to make, right? So, a couple of things came to mind when I was thinking about the question. And first of all of us on this phone have just been so tremendously fortunate in the companies that we've worked for and the people that have led us and taking us under their wing and coached us and trained us. So first of all, we want to be able to give that back, right? We feel like we're in a place to do that and we want to be able to give that back. Secondly, I think we alluded to it when we were talking about the customer. I mean, one of our values is to be authentic and to bring empathy and compassion as the forefront of this role in sales, which we believe truly will ultimately bring a successful operations, right? That it's not just about sales, it's about connecting, but that connection will bring forth the revenue, the occupancy that they're looking for. And then, lastly, we want to be disruptors in the industry. There are some providers that have been doing, honestly, the same things for 30 years. And I can say that because I'm almost 30 years into the industry. And boy, the customer's changing. We got to get with the program. So that's a big passion of ours too, is how do we use technology, AI, whatever it is, digital marketing, to bring this industry to the forefront instead of doing things the way we've always done them.
Yes, yes, love that. And I love the word disruptor that you brought up because that's the goal of this whole series, the collective, and talking to disruptors who are doing things differently when it comes to senior living operations, marketing, sales. So I think there's a lot of changes happening in the industry right now, a lot of advancements in technology that people are embracing or are not embracing. And it's a really exciting time. And I'm just curious, from your all's perspective, what do you think are some of those changes or innovations that could make the largest impact on operators right now?
I think there's something to be said for, don't let turnover be the enemy to advancement and to really building occupancy and building revenue. I think so often, right, it's more fun, I think, sometimes to talk about like the AI stuff that's coming. And I think it's really important. I think it's going to save salespeople a lot of time, help them to be able to really focus on the things where they can really make a difference by using some of those technologies. But I think still senior living is in a place where turnover is really detrimental to every aspect of senior living. Turnover is detrimental, certainly, and very importantly at the care level, right? I mean, I think one of the things that we know for sure is that when you can have a consistent care team consisting of your care managers through dining services all the way through your resident care directors, when you can have consistency there, you're going to notice those little things and little changes that happen day to day with residents that if you don't notice them can lead to really big things.
I think when you think about your collective, right? And collective means like kind of to bring people together. 2024 and moving on from 2024, I think it's more critical now than ever for organizations, operators to bring together marketing, sales, recruitment, and L&D to be one team so that you can have that cross-cultural knowledge that's shared to drive careers, to drive sustainability, retain your talent, and also build your revenue.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. I think that communication sometimes falls short between, marketing, sales, HR, and how the company's culture is being marketed and communicated outward. Understanding everything that the executive directors are dealing with at the communities, the care teams are dealing with, the corporate teams are dealing with. What are some of the biggest challenges you see that senior living leaders are facing now?
I think everyone is trying to find their space in the space. And so often from a consumer perspective, senior living can really look and sound a lot the same. maybe the building and the way that it presents itself might be different, but the services on the inside very often can sound very much the same, right? And so I think that as we're really seeking to help senior living communities really differentiate themselves in the space. It is often about really looking inward as to how do you demonstrate throughout your sales process. Quite frankly, how do you start in your marketing process, right? And then pull that through the sales process, and then it lives in the operations and the care process once a resident has moved in. How do you demonstrate to a customer what will be different if you elect to move into this particular community? And I think that can be really challenging, right? You're talking to a customer that most likely most families and prospective residents make this decision once. Sometimes I'll get a little pushback and say, oh yeah, but what about when a family member might move in after that first move in? Well, probably, as long as you're doing a good job, they're not really starting over from scratch. They're likely going to move into maybe that same community as long as the services are provided. So most families only make this decision one time. And so you can imagine, right, the enormous amount of information that's coming at them as to what's supposed to be important. What all sounds important, because it all is important, right? Can you take care of the person that I love? Is the space going to be space that's appealing? Are you going to have the kinds of things for them to do that they're really going to want to be engaged in? Are they going to fit in? Do they feel a sense of belonging? Like all of that, of course, matters. But can a customer really feel that once they're reaching out and they're beginning doing their initial search, maybe on your website, or maybe they're talking to a third-party referral source and they're getting some tidbits of information from that particular party, and then they're talking with your sales professionals, right, as they begin that journey. All of those things, right, are going to tell a customer that this is what it's going to feel like when you live here. And so really keeping top of mind, like all of those little moments culminate to be how a customer will make a decision. Like those are the feelings, right? That's all the feels stuff, which can be really hard, right, to put in a brochure. People can say what it's going to feel like, but you really don't know that, right, until you're actually talking with the people who are going to be there to actually provide some of the care that your loved one's going to receive. So I'll leave it at that for a moment, and I'll pitch it to my colleagues and see what they might like to add.
Well, I mean, everyone knows that turnover, right, is huge right now, right? And I think we touched on it, but how do you hire, train, and retain the right people that are going to get you there? I mean, the turnover in sales can be upwards to 40 to 50% in some communities. And, that's harsh, right? When you think about that. So that's one of them. I think, again, from a sales perspective, really the business development, B2B, is still the nut yet to be cracked, and we're working on it, right? We're going to be excited to be able to come out with or we're working really hard right now on a program that will help operators and sales folks. And then I think when just talking to some vice presidents of sales recently, the increase in digital leads, which is your area of expertise, how to source and filter them. Kelly was talking about, AI to help with some of the lead scoring, but, it used to be we would be like, oh, we need more leads. Well, probably we really didn't. We just need to work the leads we had better. But even now, it's more leads coming through from the digital platforms if you're utilizing it correctly, like through Smart Girl. But like if they're coming in, how do the directors of sales know, right? This is the best one. I need to work this one when they're being inundated. And I think a lot is left on the table because they're not doing that correctly. So there are things that are actually right now on the forefront of things that need to be, worked on. So
Yeah.
Not
I
agree.
think I agree with that. And I think too, some of the biggest challenges that senior living leaders are facing, in my opinion, is of course all the things that McKnight and Senior Housing News and Nick tell you that's coming down the pipeline that you have to deal with. But in addition to that, I think it's this idea of growth, right? This tsunami, the baby boomers that are coming in with interest rates like they are, like, what is the identity of your asset in the market that they're in? I think that's a challenge right now for senior living leaders. Like some of these assets are aged And some of these new assets are going up that are beautiful, and they're appealing to this new generation. It's like, how do you find your differentiator in the markets that you're in? I think that's a challenge, and I don't think people have solved that yet on just the transition into this new era of senior living that we're going into.
Yeah, no, you guys bring up some great points. Differentiation, definitely understand how that is challenging for each community. The kind of increase of digital leads, that's something that we are working with clients on and helping them implement strategies to treat those leads differently, who may be higher in the funnel and maybe younger and just starting their research earlier. So we're definitely seeing that trend quite a bit across all of our clients who we work with. And then the third thing you mentioned too, which definitely resonates, is just employee turnover. And, I think a lot of times burnout can really be an issue for senior living teams across the board, at the leadership level, at the care level, at every level. How do you, from personal experience, how do you avoid burnout? Make sure, you are leading with empathy and connection. I think sometimes it's very difficult to do that when you yourself are burnt out.
Does being a wine connoisseur count? Just kidding.
Certainly helps. Certainly helps.
I'm thinking about the question, and it comes back to, as we all know, it comes back to the why. Why are you doing this? And if the vision of the organization is aligned with the vision of the individual, for whatever that is, right? What drives that individual, whether it's helping people, whether it's being super successful, whether it's, connecting with their team. If the culture and the vision of the organization is not meeting those needs of that individual, then there's going to be burnout, because I'm not getting my needs emotionally met. So then I don't have as much to give you. But yeah, so we talked about that, and really centering in the beginning of our training on that why and the customer and why they matter so much. And then so we kind of talked about, you're coming out of like a stand-up, and you've got a tour coming in, and then you get something from, say, your maintenance coordinator who says, I can't get that room to you ready today. And then the nurse says, I can't do the assessment that we talked about this afternoon. And boy, it just blows up what your objectives and what your vision really was for that day. So how do you get centered back on, I've got a customer who's going to be sitting in front of me in 10 minutes. How do I be present for them? How do I ground myself and get refocused on them? So, those are just some thoughts that I have, and that we integrate into our training, because they have to be aligned, or you're going to have the burnout.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you asked like what we do personally too. I mean, Jess works on her Tiger Wood strokes to make sure that she can perfect her golf game, and she drowns herself in sound baths when she needs some namaste. And Kelly obviously swims, she legit like works out a lot. And well, me, I walk, and I have a boat that I like to sit on when it's sunny. And yeah, and oh, I ride my electric bike around the neighborhood listening to 90s hip hop very, very loud.
That sounds fantastic. Along with the
Right?
one.
So
Hopefully not with the one. That's the ones after, right? So I appreciate you guys sharing that. And I think it's something that no one has figured out. And I think everyone struggles with to some extent is that work-life balance. And I know, especially in this industry, you do give a lot of yourself to others from an emotional standpoint. And that can be, a different kind of like burnout, I think, than maybe just like working long hours. But to your point, I think there's a lot of people who in this industry are passionate about it, and it doesn't feel like work when you have that passion. So back to, our earlier conversation of hiring the right people, I think finding the people who have that passion, and it makes every day a little bit easier.
Sure.
And I think something that I've been seeing more of a trend lately, both on the marketing and sales side, and other areas of the community as well, is, hiring that fractional consulting support. I think more communities are doing that, open to doing that, incorporating consultants into their sales and marketing processes. Curious what you all think about that trend and why so many communities are using outside consulting when it comes to their sales and marketing process.
We
Yeah.
love that trend, by the
We
way.
do love that trend. It's our
Yes,
favorite
we're,
trend,
we're
maybe of
all
all.
in favor of the fractional support.
I mean,
Go
why
ahead.
not?
Jen.
You get
It
like a
is.
3-for-1
It's
deal with
much
us.
common now. It's so common to do that. And I have my own ideas of why, but I would love to hear from you all on how companies really can benefit from, that consultant addition to the team. So hope
Yeah.
that question makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think first and foremost, right, you're getting a different perspective. And I'll speak for myself, right? As somebody who led a sales organization for more than a decade, you can you can really get lost, right, in the minutia of what is going on the ground and with the team and what you're trying to produce. And sometimes it's just having somebody, an outside resource, just being able to take a big step back and saying, what are your priorities? What is the one thing, if we could get one thing accomplished for you, what is that will make everything else a bit easier for you to get done, or at least help you to prioritize those things? And it's generally teams have the talent on the team to do those things. It is having an outside perspective and having the ability to have that outside perspective come from people who have an enormous amount of experience in the industry. I think that that's certainly one of the big advantages. And I know I had consultants that supported me, during my career, and it was not rare for them to say something that you would think to yourself, I was not thinking about that either at all, because I was thinking about these 100 things, or I wasn't thinking about it in that way. And just having somebody to be able to do that for you, I think can be enormously effective in an organization.
Yep. I think as more companies are using consulting and consultants for their leadership team, something that we have found working with clients is, there's always like, do we hire internally or do we work with a consultant? And that's, such a hard question that I think all companies ask themselves. But I think what we have tried to do and what we work with clients on is to implement the processes and training programs so that we can step out of the equation. We
Right.
don't want to stay there on long-term basis, but
Right.
make sure that we can walk away and then those
Right.
those processes are in place to keep, the tires running on the car, the
Yeah.
ship moving ahead in the right direction. And so I see that as a huge benefit is like, it's not a forever situation, but really getting that party eyes and look on
Yeah.
internal
Yeah.
work
I
that
think
you're spending.
Yeah, I just want to, because I know this is Bridget's baby. So being the growth officer, I mean, honestly, she asked questions like, wow, I should have thought of that. But, I mean, first and foremost, it's about asking questions, right? I mean, don't assume. 3 things came up for me, and then really understanding what their goals are. And Bridget just asked these questions, like, what kind of margins are you trying to achieve? What specifically in this area are you trying to, focus on and achieve? So it's all those things. But Bridget, you take it because this is your baby.
No, I was going to say, like, we're curious, right? All of us are curious. That's why we do what we do. But we ask a lot of questions. I feel like I'm a little bit like Harvey Specter in Suits. Like, I just want to ask a lot of questions while you're on the stand and figure out all the things so I can use them to help you figure out how to, win. Like,
Think you're the
essentially,
team
that's,
player.
yeah.
Love that.
It is.
Great show, by the way. Great show.
Yeah,
I've watched
It is.
almost all seasons. Um, no, I love that. And I think sometimes that those questions need to be asked, and sometimes they may be hard questions that don't
Right.
get asked internally. So it's good to have a partner there who can talk through some of those, not always hard conversations, but just things that need to be considered. So I will say I love any time that we get to talk together. You guys always bring the energy. So I appreciate your time today. I will wrap up with one last question, and I'll start with giving like one of my predictions, but what are one of your predictions for the industry in 2024? And I will share one of my predictions just from the marketing standpoint, because that's kind of the world that I live in. But I think we are going to see a lot more internal resources needed on the marketing side with the amount of digital leads coming in. I think there's going to be a need for a better alignment. Even I know this is always ongoing, but better alignment between sales and marketing on what is a marketing qualified lead and a sales qualified lead to make a really smooth transition. Because at the end of the day, with the lead volume from digital sources, sometimes sales cannot keep up with it, nor should they be keeping up with every lead. So I think there's going to have to be just more need for marketing resources in-house, and then just more training and education to create that really seamless handoff between marketing and sales with the right messaging, the right differentiation on both sides. So kind of seeing those two teams working closer together. I think that's something, a prediction I'm making for 2024, but would love to hear from you each what predictions you guys have. I know none of us have a crystal ball, but you guys have a lot of experience. You work with a lot of clients in the industry. So I want to pick your brain on this question.
Yeah, Sarah, I'll put a big exclamation point on your prediction. I think that that's something that senior living has needed to get its arms wrapped around for a really long time. And that ability to nurture opportunities much higher up in the sales funnel before maybe they actually even need to have live interaction with a sales professional. And with that, I will say that I think that senior living this year is going to really work hard to figure out how to spend that salesperson's time in a way that's going to be most impactful for the customer. So in senior living, right, and I would say probably 99% of senior living communities, it's a one salesperson shop. So you've got one salesperson doing outreach, taking inquiries, scheduling tours, doing the tour, finding the move-in paperwork, chasing down move-in paperwork, and you've got somebody doing all aspects of a job. And in a world where we know, right, that we've got to have more customer facing sales time spent with leads that are ready to talk to us and need to have that conversation, that I think senior living is going to finally figure out this year. How do you take some of those other more administrative functions and give those to, whether it's automation or whether it is to a role within the senior living community that really loves that kind of work, right? Really loves doing, kind of hand holding the family once a sale is closed and really capturing all of that paperwork and the things that we need to take great care of that resident when they move in, and use that salesperson's time for things that they should really be focused on, which will increase their effectiveness. So I think we'll double down, right? We'll double down on better lead nurturing and better customer interactions. Yeah.
Yeah, great point. Great point.
I'm predicting that there's obviously going to be more operators, investors, senior living companies that are created or that come into the space that are going to have new and innovative ideas. And so my prediction is that if there are current operators in the space that don't have a sales infrastructure yet, then they're going to need to step up their game. My prediction is that they're going to want to spend some time figuring out how do you attract and hire and retain and motivate a sales culture to drive your revenue into your communities.
They took all my answers. I mean,
yeah, what they said.
Right. I mean, and I think from the marketing perspective of the leads, you've got the marketing helping, but then how is the lead, how is sales going to adapt, right? Like, so they're going to have to figure that out. But I do agree with that. And I do agree with the hired, train, retain, having the right people in the right seats. You're going to have more longevity in that position.
So much for taking time to chat today, and we'll play this game. It'll be short and hopefully works, but this is just going to be we're going to run through a list of themes that I've seen in the industry, and I'm curious if you guys think that these themes are the future of senior living, or if you think that they're just a trend. So I'm going to kind of run through the list, and I want you guys to each hold up your card of what you think. So hopefully you can see our Zoom call here and do our best. But we'll kick it off with number one, robots in the community. I've seen robots helping with care, helping with dining, helping with all aspects of community. So you guys got to hold them at once too, so you can't look at each other. Okay, I've got 3 futures. Yes, 3 futures. Okay, great. Great. Love that. All right. So this next one, and I should also hold up mine too, just to let you guys know, but I agree with you guys. I definitely think that there's a lot of interesting ways that robots will be integrated in communities in the near future, which is so crazy to think about. But
I can't wait to have one in my home. Coffee, little almond milk latte. Yeah.
We were in that restaurant. We were in that restaurant in where were we? Arizona or I don't know where we were somewhere. Yeah. We were in a restaurant and this little robot comes around, drops our food at our table. It's the coolest thing ever.
It is. I want one in my house too.
That's coming.
All right, next one, themed communities, examples. We know we have a Margaritaville theme, we have a Disney theme. What do you guys think of the themed communities?
I'm in. I've already put my
Right.
deposit down in Margaritaville.
I want it to be this, but it's this. I don't know.
Yeah.
It is, yes, it is. It is. And I agree with you guys there. I'm interested to see what other, kind of new communities emerge with this trend, and it's really exciting. I think the Margaritaville community looks amazing, and
Yeah.
would love to be there someday myself. So
I see a Swiftie community come on board too. I mean, that would be cool.
well, after
Right?
win last night, Okay, so I'm going to just say, I'm going to skip ahead one here. We're going to do smart technology. So really building smart communities where that smart technology is built into the community with voice activated assistants, fall detections, teledocs. I'm seeing a lot of that newer technology being built into the communities. Curious your thoughts on those.
I'm going with both. Can you see mine?
Yeah, I can see yours.
A little bit.
And I only say that because I agree with the future. It is the wave of the future, but they're also trends in technology. So you're going to have to constantly be trending on the cool side of the technology in the future.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's hard to keep up with, and it definitely is going to require, a lot of development be involved in the early initial builds of communities to, build out rooms for accommodating that smart technology. I think it's going to be harder for communities to implement who already, are legacy communities and would require like reworking of their entire kind of technology
And it
capabilities.
will help with staffing too, right? So all of that. So yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I've got one last one here, and I've seen this in I think a couple of communities, but AI automated pets.
I was going to make a sign that said never.
Right. Please, please.
I know. I have my dad's little French bulldog snoring behind me right here, and I just don't know that a little snoring robotic dog would be quite as soothing. Right.
Oh, yeah, I'm with you guys. I love my human or my real fur dog, and I hope we don't see a ton of
They're a little creepy. Let's just be
AI pets running around the community.
Pets.
But thank you for accommodating that with me, ladies. I so appreciate your time today, and I hope we get to talk again soon.
Thanks
Thank
so
you,
much,
Sarah.
Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.